Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Okay, today's Divrei Halacha is Leilu Nishmat Shoshana Bat Aliza Tina Shatzura Bisora Hayim, the Nachala tonight. We are continuing our talk about Kitniyot. We introduced it yesterday, and we'll just continue with a few more laws regarding Kitniyot on Pesach. She'ela nefutza, ma ya'asu bnei zug, she'echad mehem ba mimishpachat shenaga isu Kitniyot, ve'asheni mimishpacha she'ochelet Kitniyot. So sometimes you have a couple that one side of the couple comes from a family that eats Kitniyot, and the other side comes from a family that doesn't eat Kitniyot. And they get married. So what do? Who do they follow? Katav al kayotze bazeh echad migdolei harishonim Rabbi Shimon ben Tzemach Doran, the Tashbetz writes, שדבר פשוט הוא בלא ספק שלא ייתכן שישבו שניהם באופן קבוע על שולחן אחד ומה שמותר לזה אסור לזה. Impossible that they're both going to sit down on the Seder table or somewhere on Pesach and one of them is eating rice and the other one's not eating rice and they're living separate lives when it comes to Pesach. Can't do that. ולכן צריכה האישה ללך אחר מנהגי בעלה. The wife has to follow the minhag of her husband. Sheishto kegufo. Because his wife is like him. Ve'im ha'ba'al niftar. What happens if the husband passes away? So now, let's say she was Ashkenazia. Yeah, so the husband passes away. When they were married, okay, she followed the husband. But now he passed away. So now do I go back to my father's custom? Therefore I don't eat Kitniyot? Or do I continue the custom of my husband? So he says, Taluya davar. It depends on one factor. Im nolad laisha mimenu yeled. If she had a child with her husband, tishaer b'minhag ba'ala. She has to remain with the minhag of the father, because now that they had a child, that child represents the father, their family. So she has to continue the tradition that she followed with her husband. Ve'im lo nolad la mimenu yeled. But if they remain childless, tachzor la minhag bet avia, she has to go back to the custom of her father. And this works, but same thing. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You have a child, there's now a family, she continues the minhag of the husband. Again, this works the other way around. If the woman was Sephardi, okay, and she married an Ashkenazi, that doesn't eat Kitniyot, so again, she would go back to her father's custom if they didn't have a child. Ve'osif levayer Rav Feinstein, Rav Moshe Feinstein, whose Nachala was just a couple days ago on Ta'anit Aser. He says, Shedin ha'isha kedin mi she'over lagur b'makom she'akol noagim bo be'ofan shoneh mikefei she'haya ragil. That the law, the status of the wife is similar to a man who decides to move cities. Now, let's say he has a certain minhag in whatever it is where he grew up, and then he comes and he moves to Toronto. And in Toronto, they don't do this minhag in this particular community. So now he can't say, "I don't care. I was born in London, and this is the way we did in London. I'm sticking with it." No, if you move to Toronto and Toronto does not have the minhag to do this, if your plan is if your goal is to stay and live in Toronto, then you have to follow the minhag of Toronto. She'im bekavanato lagur sham tamid. If his kavanah is to live there, alav levatel minhagav hakodmim velinhog keminhag anshe mekomo hadash. He has to change his minhag and not impose his old minhagim, but rather he has to adapt to the minhagim of the city that he is. So the wife accepts the same status. Therefore, ken ha'isha shenised lebala, a woman that is married to her husband, harehi kemi shavra lebeito tamid. We hope she's marrying him on the condition to be with him always. So therefore, she is like Ki'ilu moving to a new city permanently, and therefore, lachen alea linhog keminhagav, she has to follow his minhagim. Lefi zeh, therefore, im isha ashkenazit nis'a lisfaradi, if a Ashkenazi woman marries a Sfaradi male, יכולה לאכול קטניות בפסח, she can eat kitniyot on Pesach, ואינה צריכה לעשות התרת נדרים. She doesn't even need to do התרת נדרים for all the years that she didn't eat קטניות, מפני שכך הדין שהאישה נוהגת כמנהג בעלה. Because, like we said, the law is that she follows her husband's customs. ואף על פי כן כמה פוסקים המליצו שתעשה התרת נדרים. He does write that there are some poskim that say she do hatarat nedarim. Hatarat nedarim, there's nothing wrong with doing it, even if you want to. It's not like it's not a beracha. It's just a nullification of the vows. So if she wants to do it, she can do it. Not a problem. Okay. The next session, he just talks about various foods that fall under the category of kitniyot. I'm going to just summarize it really quick. Basically beans and peas and corn and anything that comes a lot from the ground that could be ground into flour. Those are things that are considered kitniyot. Al pi haminhag en ochlim minei kitniyot, aval mutar le'ashotam bebait b'Pesach. So one of the big misconceptions is that kitniyot, although people don't eat kitniyot, but they're not chametz. There's an isur in chametz that you're not allowed to own chametz, and you can't even see chametz. You can't put chametz in your. That's why we sell it, right? We sell our chametz, we lock it up, and we can't even go in there. But kitniyot is not chametz, which means just because you don't eat rice, that doesn't mean you can't own rice. I can have rice visible to me. It could be with all my other Pesach foods. Okay, I don't eat it, but doesn't mean I'm not allowed to keep it. וכן מותר ליהנות מהם. I'm allowed to have benefit from the kitniyot. כגון להדליק נר משמן kitniyot. So for example, an Ashkenazi that cannot use vegetable oil. Okay? Vegetable oil for Ashkenazim is kitniyot because it contains...
He's going to have what happened? I have to know that. Suppose he decides to
he's over the psak of his rabbis. That's what it is. According to the Ramah, Ashkenazim.
Okay, I don't care what he said.
But then it becomes.
My friend is Kitniyot. He says, "I want to eat Kitniyot." What happens?
Then it becomes free for all, right? Then when are you going to place the guidelines? If you decide one day that you want to be like the Ashkenazim and you're going to have every member of your house light. Okay, but then where do you draw the line? Because then. But you have minagim of our fathers. No, it's not in the old days. It's not in the old days. It's not in the old days. If I decide that I want every one of my children to light Chanukiah on Chanukah, but that's not our custom, right? Our poskim say, the Sfarad poskim, you light one menorah on Chanukah, one Chanukiah. Who am I to just say, okay, I'm going to ignore what they're saying, and I'm going to light now one for every one member of my family? That's not the way we do it. So yeah, you're right. It's free for all. You have free choice of what you want to do, but we have to respect the opinions of our chachamim. Now, the reality is that today in Eretz Yisrael, there's a lot of people that are just slowly beginning to follow the Sfaradim and eat kitniyot for various reasons, which I guess I'm not going to get into. It's up to them and what they decided with their rabbis. But nevertheless, okay, that's up to them. But what we're saying now is that you could have benefit from kitniyot. So, for example, Ashkenazim or those that don't eat kitniyot, they cannot use canola oil. Canola is a kitnit. So therefore, vegetable oil, which contains canola oil, they're not allowed to use on Pesach. And so that's why you see cottonseed oil. That's what the Ashkenazim use for cooking. But they can use vegetable oil or canola oil to light their candles for Yom Tov. Even because it's not chametz. If it was chametz, I wouldn't even be allowed to see it. I wouldn't have it in my possession. But they're allowed to have benefit from it. Mutar lemi shenoheg shelo leechol kitniyot levashel kitniyot lemi shenoheg leechol kitniyot bepesach. An Ashkenazi can cook kitniyot food for someone who can eat kitniyot. וטוב שיעשה איזה סימן שאינו מבשל לעצמו. Make some sort of siman to show that he's not cooking it for himself. וכן מותר לבעל חנות למכור קטניות בפסח. A store owner, Kosher City Plus, Sobeys, whatever it is, you're allowed to display and sell kitniyot on Pesach. אבל אם יש חשש שמעורבים בקטניות גרגירי חיטים, if there's a chashash that maybe they'll mix up with some grains of wheat, okay, then lo yischar bahem. Better not to do business, to sell them. Kedel shelo leachshil et hakonim beisur chametz. We don't, God forbid, want to have the buyers to purchase chametz. Betov lemochram b'mechirat chametz, and therefore it's just best probably to sell them. Not only that, im bishlu ma'achal lepesach v'naflu letocho minei kitniyot. So let's say you're cooking a dish for Pesach, and some rice fell in your dish, okay? Let's talk about Moroccans now. Moroccans don't eat rice. So let's say you're cooking a dish, and some rice falls into your dish, okay? Again, rice is not chametz. If it was chametz, you have to throw the entire dish out, because Pesach lo batel b'mashu. Chametz asur b'mashu. Even if it was one little crumb of chametz, you have to throw the whole thing out. But rice is not chametz. It's a kitnit that we just don't eat. So therefore, if you're able to see the rice and take it out, yalla, pick it out with your hand and throw it in the garbage. Right? Not even shishim, berov. If you have 50%, 51% of kosher, then it's not kosher of what you're allowed to eat. It's batel. But if most of it is now kitniyot, in that case, then you're not allowed to eat that dish. Mutar lenoagim isur kitniyot leechol ubashelam bekelim shel mi she'eno noheg isur zeh. A person who is not allowed to eat kitniyot it's allowed for them to cook with kelim, eat from foods from kelim that were used for kitniyot. Okay, so if you have pots and pans that were used to make rice, okay, then a person who doesn't eat kitniyot can eat from that pot. Ubitnai sheyavru alehem 24 shaot. It's best that at least 24 hours have passed since the pot was used for kitniyot. V'im bishlu b'keli shelo avru alav 24 shaot hatavshil kasher. And even if it didn't pass 24 hours, b'diavad, the dish is still okay. Speaking of oils, he does talk about it here slightly. We do have a couple minutes, so we'll just add it. Again, en dinan shel kitniyot chamur yoter midin chamesh shel midei dagan. Don't ever think that kitniyot is more strict than the 5 main grains. Everything that is kosher with the 5 grains is kasher with the kitniyot. If water did not fall on these grains, or water did fall, but you made sure that it was baked or made into matzah within 18 minutes, I always tell people, wheat is not chametz, okay? Wheat and spelt and rye is not chametz. It's only chametz if water touched the wheat, okay, and then you let it 18 minutes for it to become chametz. The actual wheat kernel itself is not chametz. Because there are people that are machmir, but most people are mekil. Last but not least, nechreku poskim. We talked about this already. Bedin shmanim. The poskim argue with regards to the oils that are made from kitniyot. Ledat makilim, according to those who are mekil, isur kitniyot lo chal al shemen hayotze mehem. That according to some, that kitniyot does not even apply to oils, which means that according to some poskim, Ashkenazim can even have canola oil. No problem. Any of these oils they can have, and vegetable oil. Udat machmirim din shemen kitniyot kedin kitniyot. But those that are strict, the law of kitniyot oils are just like the kitniyot, which means they cannot consume the oils. This is subject to a very, very big machloket that took place many, many years ago between Harav Kook and the Edah Haredit. It was like a war. If there was such a thing, it was a war between the two. And Harav Kook was adamant that you're allowed to eat, that they could have the oils, that it does not constitute kitniyot, but the Edah Haredit went crazy on him. It's one of the reasons why a lot of the ultra-Orthodox don't respect Rav Kook, besides the fact that he was a big Zionist. They don't respect him and his psakim, but this was a very, very big thing. it turns out, politics, mamash politics. And it turns out that most of the Ashkenazim, okay, don't side with, or do side with the Edah Haredit, and they don't consume these types of oils, canola and vegetable, because they wanted to hold like the Edah Haredit and not Rav Kook. But there are many people that hold Rav Kook. He was a giant in halacha, no question. He was the chief rabbi of Israel, so he knew his beans. And listen, it is what it is, and there are those that follow him and do consume oils of Kitniyot. But again, each one needs to follow whatever the rabbi says.